my backup now of recording since somebody was a total moron the one time and messed it up. Okay. All right. We've got several ways that we're recording. We are live now.
Top of the morning to you.
In 3 different ways. Hi, top of the morning to you. Conor McGregor here. No. We're videoing over here, which, by the way, I am going to adjust that now that I look at that. There we go.
Whoa.
We've got Austin here, and not only do we have Austin, but we also have a carpet Jesus with us. Now we're not praying to this. This isn't the Eastern Orthodox Church where we're praying to this and putting all our hope in this, but it is nice to have. And if you're stressed out, it does give you a little bit of sensory relief to just kind of come up and pet it, because it does give you the feel of a golden retriever.
That's a really unfair statement to the Eastern Orthodox Church.
So we're not.
But it is a nice carpet Jesus.
Yes, we're not in the game of fair statements. We are in the game of ignorance.
That's right.
And being as dumb as we could be. Let's start out with what kind of coffee. First, let's do it. What kind of coffee are we drinking?
Well, take a sip. I want
Okay.
your honest review.
So the first thing that comes to mind is cat urine. No, I'm just. No, I'm just joking. It's a little watery. Of course, all I drink is espresso and Cuban coffee, so it's all water to me after that. It's okay.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's okay.
Really?
I mean, it's not bad. It honestly, this tastes like tea.
It does a little bit.
It tastes like tea. It's pretty, like, that's what I meant by it's kind of watered
I'm
down.
actually surprised that it tastes as tea and weak as it does.
Yeah.
This is Cafe Bustillo, but instant coffee.
Ah.
Because
I would also say Cafe Bustelo, but
Bustelli.
Bustelli, because it ends in an I, because it's instant.
That's right.
Bustelli instant.
I mean,
Yes.
like, again, I've never met a coffee that I wouldn't drink, but
Yeah.
I didn't know they made an instant coffee, and it intrigued me, and I said, I want to try this.
Yeah.
And then I said, I'm going to try this with Sam.
That tastes nothing like the because we had the
Not a
Cafe
thing.
Bustelo. The one time I forgot the hot plate to the mocha pot, and we drank just Cafe Bustelo brewed normally, and it tasted pretty good. And then of course the next time I brought the mocha pot, and we had it that way. But
I'm going to be perfectly honest. It's not good.
That's not good.
It's not good at all.
I
mean, like, I'll drink it.
I think I would rather drink Folgers than this, and I'm not a Folgers person. I'm gonna put it this way: I would rather drink the cheapest, great value, whatever they're selling.
Don't tempt me.
Yeah, that's next week's coffee.
Next
It's great
week's
value. This isn't good.
Oh, either way. But now
All
we
right,
know.
we're back.
And now you know. We just saved you $1.29 on instant coffee.
Yes, don't drink this. It's garbage.
It's
Actually,
not
just stay away from instant coffee
Yeah,
in general.
absolutely.
Just stay away from instant coffee.
I was so hopeful that you were going to try it and you're going to be like, wow, that's really good. And I was going to be like, it's instant. And then I took a drink of it and I was like, yep, no, that's exactly what it was going to be.
I knew right away. I was like, this is
no good.
This is weak. This tastes like tea. One time, my wife's grandma made me coffee, and she gave it to me. And first off, I could see to the bottom of the cup, and I was like, this isn't going to be good.
Yeah.
And so I drank it, and she asked me if I wanted any cream or sugar, and I was like, no, I'm good. Thank you, though, because if you can see through your coffee, then your coffee is going to be so bad, it's not even funny.
Fair.
But I would never tell her that. She does listen to the podcast, so I'm regretting bringing that up now. She's a fantastic woman, and I appreciated that cup of coffee, and I'm sorry I brought it up.
But you said it was terrible.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that we look back on in life and we regret, and me bringing up that cup of coffee at the camp was a mistake.
All right, fair enough. Well, now that we've encouraged everyone not to buy instant coffee.
Yeah, don't buy instant coffee.
Don't do it. Ugh. Anyway, we are back after like a 2.5 month vacation.
Yes. First
How
off,
was your 2.5 month vacation, Sam?
First off, I'm not going to accept the whole 2.5 months because I will accept 1 month of that as myself. The other month was Austin was at the crossroads of not wanting to be my friend anymore, and he just totally disappeared on me.
I ghosted him.
And then I would see him on Sundays, and he'd be like, "Yeah, we got to get rolling, got to get moving," and then he would not get rolling and not get moving. So we were back together though.
In my defense, a lot happened during your massive bougie vacation. And my girls are in 6 dance classes throughout the week. And so I still don't have that schedule figured out.
Yeah, we're kind of struggling on the same note with martial arts as well as dance class going on. So we're kind of on the same boat.
I think we did miss a few things. Because I kept thinking...
Yes, we did miss a lot. Oh, I tell you, there's a couple other things I'm going to write down that I wanted to bring up. Shoot. You keep going. I'm going to...
No, I was going to say, so shortly after you took your vacation, some guy, I believe it was Ollie and Antoine? Ollie Antoine? Oliver Anthony. Oh, yeah, that was it.
Yes.
Richmond, north of Richmond. And I thought to myself, we could talk about this on the podcast, but that's kind of old news now. But regardless, that was one of the things that came up during your 2.5 month vacation.
Yeah, there was all kinds of things that I wanted to bring up.
It seemed like every time like something was happening, I was like, "Oh man, I'd love to talk to Sam about this."
Yes,
but he wouldn't answer my phone calls.
Well, we played phone tag a couple of times, but I don't remember a specific time where I got a phone call and I didn't call you back at least.
No, I made that up.
Yeah, I thought so.
I was trying to let you enjoy your vacation.
Yeah, I thought so. But vacation overall was good. I wouldn't recommend Key West.
Wouldn't?
Well, there's more to follow with that. I wouldn't recommend Key West. For certain times of the year, because there's something down there not so family friendly that if we would have booked for the month of October instead of September, in August, we would have been, my wife and I would have been red faced because it was pretty bad. It was a fantasy fest down there in October.
Oh.
And it's essentially exactly what it sounds like. It is pretty much full on. Everything goes on the street. And we didn't know about it until we were down there. And somebody made a joke about it. I was fishing in the fishery. The captain, the first mate, he made a joke about it. And I was clueless, and he kind of went in to explain Fantasy Fest and what happens there, and that he gets a lot of people fishing at that time multiple times throughout the week because they realize they cannot go down the street.
Oh wow!
With their kids. Yeah.
So it's good for the fishing business.
Yeah. So Fantasy Fest does wonders for the fishing industry. But there's also a lot of not so family friendly items down there with. Like there was a couple of drag queen bars where they'll stand outside and kind of try to lure people to come in. Now, we always walked on the other side of the street because...
Is that where you did your stand-up comedy routine?
Actually, no. That was at a place called Key West Comedy.
Oh, okay.
And it went very well.
It did?
I did it twice. The second time, there was 10 people in the audience, and it was very awkward. But after having pastored at a smaller church, you get used to less than 10 people that you're talking to, and you know, Sundays are Sundays. You may or may not get a reaction out of anybody the entire time, and you're like, is anybody following me, or am I wasting my breath right now? You know, and I'm sure you can attest to that.
And any pastor listening says, "Amen."
Yes.
Yeah.
So you know that happened. You know, but yeah. So be careful what time you go out at night. Be careful which side of the street that you do walk on if you're walking with your young kids.
Come on, kids.
Yeah.
Let's go to Fantasy Fest.
Yeah. And definitely avoid. I don't remember what week it is in August or in October, but you know, pay attention to that if you ever go. Other than that, totally beautiful. Now, what I will say is that there's not as many beaches, like, because I lived around Sarasota, there was tons of beaches there. So there was a lot of places you could go snorkel at, or go, let's check out this beach today, check out that beach. There's not a bunch of beaches there, which is kind of surprising. There's a lot of marinas and that kind of thing, but there's not a lot of beaches there. There was essentially 2.5 beaches around us. There wasn't too many.
Half a beach.
Yeah, and when I say around us, I mean, and when I say half a beach, I mean literally, if you go upstairs in the sanctuary, and that is, you know, kind of take the length of the church right there, that is probably bigger than what that beach was.
I'm not sure how the length of the church, but for those who aren't familiar, our sanctuary, I think, seats like 240 people. And that's like everybody jammed together.
It's not big.
Not huge.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Huh.
So, but that's it. You know, I took this as a compliment. I was walking down the street, and a gentleman stopped me, and he said, "Hey, white boy, where all the women at?" Literally exactly what it sounded like, and I answered him, I don't know, and I started laughing, but I did take it as a compliment because I thought that maybe I did look masculine walking through there, so I did take that as a compliment. But that is an actual story that happened, and actually you could probably go back and watch that unfold, because it was right in front of the southernmost point, and I was walking to get coffee, or actually it was food. I got lunch or something, and that guy stopped me, and he asked me where all the women were at. So I said I took it as a compliment. Now my wife said you shouldn't because it makes you look like a player, and I was like, well, or that I'm just really masculine. You know, I don't know. What would you think if somebody said that to you? What would you think?
I don't think anybody would say that to me.
I didn't, honestly.
So I think I would take it as like apparently this is a masculine, like attractive guy.
Yeah, that's how I took it. But my wife said I shouldn't take it that way, that I should have taken it as an insult. Yeah.
I don't know. I have no idea.
But either way, I was walking back up the street, and he was on his motorcycle, and he was taking off up through the main drag. So he either found somebody that did answer his question, or he was like, yeah, there's no women here, and he left. But that was pretty eventful. I'd never thought that anybody would ask me that question.
Yeah.
But there I am in front of the southernmost point. There's a camera up there, so it probably was filmed where I got asked where the women were. Now I don't know that the sound was on there, but you could probably see. I just started laughing. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't know how to answer that question.
Yeah, I don't know. So we need to address a controversy here first, because somehow every controversy that happens, I have to somehow turn into Austin and the church and city council. So
let's go.
Austin, who serves on the city council, was at a play, and while he was at the play, he was vaping. He was being very loud, very rude, and you know, there was some calls to kick him out of the theater. He was booted out, and it's a big scandal and a big controversy. He claims to represent family values, and clearly he doesn't. Do you have anything to say for yourself? What do you have to say in defense of yourself?
I am running for re-election.
Let me see. Oh, You know what?
Wait a minute.
I
know who that was.
I just realized that this is actually Lauren Boebert
from Colorado.
Colorado, yes, not Austin Lynch from the Stonewood City Council. Yes, my bad on that.
Let me just say this.
I didn't realize to do that.
I'm really I'm fine if you want to run on this platform of family values and so on and so forth. I'm not okay when you run on that platform and your life reflects nothing like that. That's the trouble.
Yeah. And it's not to say that, I get that there's times where, because I don't expect everybody to every second of every moment live up to their moral values.
No.
Because that's why you have the values that you have, is because those are things that you want to attain. So there might be times where you do fall a little bit short.
We will all fall flat on our face at some point. And for those that are in the public eye, everybody's waiting for it. So I get it. And there's got to be some grace and some forgiveness and things extended there. But my lands, that was
pretty
nuts.
bad. It was pretty bad.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Embarrassing, which could kind of lead us into our next segment. How embarrassing is and this is the problem that I have with the Trump-only wing of the Republican Party. But how embarrassing is the Republican Party right now? And this is speaking from someone. I'm a registered Republican, okay? How embarrassing is it that the ousting of McCarthy as Speaker of the House, and then all of this Israel stuff happens, and now they're kind of in this limbo state where they can't pull it together. They can't find anybody to replace him as the Speaker. They're struggling. The Democratic Party are using this as a stance that they can say, listen, we would love to do more for Israel, but we're really stuck right now because of the Republican Party, which rightfully they are. They really are. They deserve to be flexed on in that manner. It is very embarrassing. You barely hold a majority, people. Matt Gaetz could not have done anything dumber, I think, as a congressperson other than this. How embarrassing is it? And it goes to show you that who you elect to go from your local office matters a lot, because this is totally embarrassing.
And this is why in the House of Representatives it's a 2-year term, because they are closest to the people, which means there are smaller areas that they cover. Now in West Virginia, we only literally have 2 districts. So half the state.
Yeah, we had one taken away. We had 3, but I think we just had one recently taken away. Did we not?
Yeah,
I think so.
But you take areas with higher populations. I mean, they're really geographically can be small areas. But that's the idea, is that your House of Representatives, they are closer to the people, and they should be able to be essentially kicked out through some fairly easy grassroots efforts whenever they're dumb.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, that doesn't happen. So I would like to make a suggestion that we nominate a new Speaker of the House, Lauren Boebert.
It's got to be Boebert. That's what I was listening to a comedian rant about this, and he was like, at the same time he was talking about Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and he said, the Kennedys know how to set themselves up as a political dynasty. He said, Lauren Boebert, there's never going to be another Boebert in Congress again. Like, you don't know what you're doing.
I mean, didn't she win re-election by less than 1,000 votes?
I don't know.
It was an extremely. I
didn't even know who she was until that happened.
I knew who she was through. Well, I try to keep up somewhat with it, but I had some friends that went to some rally that she had, and But regardless, I think she won by just a few
small
hundred
fractions.
votes, and that's what I'm looking at thinking.
Yeah, it's totally embarrassing. At the same time, there's the Republican, I don't remember his name, he's from New York. He's now under scrutiny because was he the same guy that said he was Jewish? And when they were like, you're not Jewish, dude. What are you talking about? He was like, well, I didn't mean literally Jewish. I just meant that I like Jewish stuff, so I was kind of a Jew-ish. It was like, is this guy psychotic?
It was like Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah.
Who said that she was Native American and actually come to find out, no, she wasn't.
Yeah, it'd be like me saying I'm Native American with my 23andMe test of 0.02% Native American.
Hey, yeah, I'm 1% African.
I did have like 0.04 Nigerian. I think I should have.
Really?
I should have told the speaker yesterday that
my girls were 1% Nigerian.
Really?
Yeah. So we got to tell. We had a missionary at church, and from Nigeria, and so we got to hang out a little bit afterwards, and I was telling him about it.
Might I say, his English improved, because the last time he was here, I thought he had more of an accent, but I thought yesterday that his English has increased a good bit in his accent.
He slowed down, I think is what it was. Because I was sitting there.
Could be.
Listen, and like I've known him for years and just an amazing person. But I was sitting there thinking, he's speaking slower than he typically does. And I would venture to say, I didn't ask him about that. I should have. But
I had he wasn't my lab partner, but there was only 7 of us in the program at Fairmont for electronics. So one of the guys was a Nigerian student, and everybody is familiar with each other. He was an American citizen. He was born here, but his parents kind of did some things where they went back and forth at different times. So sometimes he was over here, sometimes he wasn't. But he spent most of his life in Nigeria. But so we were around him all the time, talking, joking, laughing. So I was used to hearing his accent all the time. So 5 years ago when he was here, it didn't mean anything to me. But Alyssa, she was like, I had trouble kind of following him a little bit. Which, if you're not familiar with the accent, it can be.
Yeah.
If somebody's going quickly. But yeah, I do agree with what you said. He did slow down.
Yeah, I didn't have any problems following him. But again, like I said, I'm not going to say I've had like constant contact with him for years, but
right.
I've known him for years.
Familiarity.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess I figured it out.
Yeah. But I don't know. Some people have a different ear for that type of thing anyway. So where they're able to pick apart accents and it doesn't matter.
And we have another missionary next Sunday from India.
India. I was going to say from India.
So
yeah,
back to back. It was just kind of their schedules. That's what it worked out.
Yeah.
You
it works out. It works out. Okay. So the next topic. Now that we rolled into,
is this a current topic?
Yes.
Okay, because this one I'm going to get a little passionate about.
Now that we have rolled into Israel and the Republicans making an embarrassment of themselves, let's just go to Israel itself in the terrorist attack. Unless you have something else. Before we get there,
okay. I'm really ticked. At the fact that people have all of a sudden decided that hummus is this terrible thing.
Darn you. You just had to go here, didn't you?
Hummus is delicious.
Darn you.
With all of the crackers, the breads, I don't care. Especially a nice red pepper hummus is delicious. And now all I hear is that these people are really upset about hummus. And I don't know where it came from.
Well, I don't know what to say back to this. Except I hate you. Oh.
Of course, they've been pronouncing it weird. Hamas, I believe.
Yeah.
Side note, I told Sam my entire goal of this podcast is to throw him off. So that's what we're going to do.
Well, first off, mission accomplished.
Hey, you're welcome. Oh, it's going to get worse. Go ahead. I've got it all right here in the head.
I tell you what, one time I had hummus from the store, and it wasn't very good. Now that you brought it up, I'm going to talk about hummus. Yeah. I had hummus from the store one time, and I was like, this is disgusting. But then when I was in London, there was an authentic, I don't remember, it was Middle Eastern. I don't remember exactly what it was. I don't remember if it was like Persian or I don't remember exactly, but they had hummus there. Oh, for sure. Oh, it was so good.
Fair enough.
But from the store, no. No. So I wouldn't recommend buying hummus from the store. But
I bought hummus from the store.
If you're
But
well,
when
if
you
like
take
hummus,
bougie 2.5 month vacations in Key West, then
first,
I understand where you might have issues with hummus. But you know what? It's fine. You're probably one that hates hummus too, huh?
This was a mistake. We should have just let the podcast die on episode 4. Okay. So now let's get to the real topic. Now that we've gotten past hummus. I hate you so. The attacks in Israel. Now, by Hamas, not hummus, Hamas.
My mistake.
Yeah, you messed up on that one, sir. So I don't want to comment so much as the specifics about what happened, other than just a total atrocity, what happened with the attack. So I don't want to get too crazy into, Arabs were there for a while, and then Jews came back, and, there's people that will flip-flop this all around. I want to talk more so about, because this is a biblical-based podcast, although we talk about other things like hummus. I do want to talk more biblically about what's happening, the significance of it. We had a podcast one time where we kind of talked about Israelology a little bit and the importance of Israel. And obviously, you're probably not going to hear tons of pro-Palestinian talk right now, because this is literally a podcast called Two Gentiles, about two men that have an affinity for Jewish culture, and the picture on our profile for Facebook is a mug with the Star of David on it.
There you
go. Warning if you may be triggered, but I feel like most people should know what to expect.
If you want some pro-Hamas, pro-Palestine language, go to Congress.
Yeah, I will say unapologetically, I am totally biased for it's Israel's land, and I'll just stop right there as far as kind of discussing that, and just kind of stick a little bit more biblical about this current situation. But if you bring up whatever you want to bring up.
Yeah, well, I think it's so important that we lay a foundation with it that says, regardless, I don't know, I feel like we get pushed into this corner of pick a team, and at the end of the day, people lose because death is awful and war is awful. And so I want to be, and we joke a lot, I get that. But I also want to be sensitive to that fact that at the end of the day, it's just sad. Either way that you slice this, and I understand the complexities that are underlying all of this, and yes, you know what? If we're attacked and we retaliate, I think for many people we justify that, and rightfully so. A lot of times, I'm not here to discuss that, but I am here to say, at the end of the day, it breaks my heart because I hate death, I hate evil, I hate war, and I just keep. This is what we see, and so I think it's just important to because I do feel like sometimes, especially Christians, have this tendency to almost come across as callous towards Palestinians, and it's that's not that's not who I am at all.
Well, I think what we forget is that we do live in the age of grace. Okay, so the thing that we should really want here is we should really want for these people to repent and come to Jesus, come to faith in Jesus. That should be number one. Now, that being said, I hope total justice is served out for anybody that had a hand in what happened.
It's terrible. Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
I hope total justice is handed out on anybody that had a hand in that. But the idea first is that we should want these people to be saved. We are still in the age of grace. There will come a time where we start to see God in the book of Revelation. We start to see a lot of parallels with Exodus, and we start to see him work and operate in the same way that he used to in the Old Testament. Specifically, if you look at the seals being broken loose, it is a midrash, and it is a parallel to the book of Joshua. And when they go into Jericho, there's 7 trumpets, there's 7 seals. Inside of the 7th, there's 7. There's a subset of 7. You can't deny there's a parallel. So you start to see that working. But for the moment being, we are still in the age of grace. We should still pray for the salvation of these people and repentance first, and then we also want to see justice and everything come with it. Now, what I will say is that, and there was a lot of people that had a big fear during COVID, and it was a lot of people that you heard your whole life, family members that I had who my whole life have been saying, the coming of Christ, the coming of Christ, the coming of Christ. You better get ready, the coming of Christ. And then when you see a big pestilence or a big disease come in, total panic.
Yeah.
Total panic beyond rationality. So this is going to happen. This is going to get worse. Like, just preface with that. This is going to get worse. Maybe not this immediate conflict. Well, undoubtedly it will get a little bit worse because they're going to do a ground invasion, but maybe not to the point that it escalates to a greater regional problem. But it will get worse, for sure. Mm-hmm. For sure it's going to get worse. Jesus said there will be wars and rumors of wars. He said there will be pestilence, there will be famines, there's going to be earthquakes. And it's going to get worse.
And I think that's almost the scary part, is that there hasn't been a time really in history that those things have not been happening somewhere in the world. But then to think about the fact that these things will get worse and worse. And part of me says worse and worse, but also just our knowledge of them because of technology. Right. You know, where, I mean, we could be happily oblivious, you know, in the 1960s, the 70s, you know, even into the 80s, you know, we could have just been happily oblivious to what was happening all across the world. But now, I mean, it's literally just at the tips of your fingers. You know, you can find what's going on, and there's no way to keep your head buried under the sand anymore. No. And so,
and that kind of goes to, I think, with what Daniel says, that knowledge would increase. Mm-hmm. And not only has knowledge increased with what we know about the world in general and our communication together, but knowledge has certainly just totally increased biblically as well. Like, yeah, there's a lot of ignorance out there, but never before have you just been able to get online at your house. You don't have to leave and go anywhere, and you can start reading an interlinear Bible and start to pick apart the Greek. Like, yeah, you may not know Greek yourself, but you can sit there and pick it apart with an interlinear Bible and a lexicon that you can pick up for nothing. There's stuff for free online everywhere.
Chat GPT.
YouTube videos. Chat GPT. There's so many things that you can see for nothing to learn and study from. Put chapstick on. Alyssa makes fun of me.
We interrupt this podcast.
Says that I'm thoroughly addicted. And I will admit I am addicted to chapstick.
But no, I think that's important because also another thing that I've seen within, especially the evangelical culture, is as soon as anything like that happens, like you were mentioning, like people start to lose their minds. You know, like John Hagee,
mass
like
hysteria,
heavy breathing, and you know, I mean, it's just that stuff can happen. And
you mean the blood moon happened and we didn't all die right on the spot?
That's right. Sorry to disappoint.
Yeah,
we're still here. But I feel like, again, we can get really caught up in stuff like that, and we can forget our primary purpose in doing so. And so I've always found it interesting because whenever big events are happening in the world, like it's inevitable, I have people that come to me, whether in the church or out of the church, whatever, and they go, well, what do we do? And I have to keep coming back to saying, well, we do what Jesus told us to do. We love God with all of our heart, mind, soul, and strength. We love our neighbor as ourselves.
Yeah.
And, don't be ignorant, and look into it and check it out and kind of watch these things develop. But here's the thing. You're not going to stop anything. You're not going to thwart the plans of God, in any way.
Right.
And so you can either lose your mind about some of this stuff and just be in essence no earthly good.
Yeah.
Or you can watch it, you can see it unfolding, you can pray, and you can keep loving God and loving people. So I think that's always my encouragement for people is it doesn't change your job. It doesn't change your calling as a follower of Jesus.
Right.
Be aware, but it doesn't change your calling.
Yeah. If you remember when Peter at the end of what's that in the book of John, Peter as asking Jesus, he says, what's your plan with John? And he's like, what do you care?
It's none of your business.
John, it's like what do you care? I've called Peter to do this, not John to do this. John has another work. You have this work over here. This is your calling, Peter. Yep. Let's worry about Peter, and we'll take care of it.
Yep.
And I think that we need to keep that in mind, is that we all have our own call to do and to keep in mind. Not only that, but the book of Daniel, when talking on the end times, says that those that have the knowledge and understand what's going on will be instructing, the few or instructing the many? I can't remember the exact, instructing the many, I think is the way that it words it. I can't remember. It might be like Daniel, I don't know, 9:7, something like that. I can't remember exactly. But you have a job to do in this, not to stand by and just be like, everything's going down. Just calmly tell somebody, be like, somebody's like, what do you think about all this? Well, I'll tell you what, I'm not too concerned because this right here.
Because of the hope that I have.
Everything that's in here. I'm fully confident in the Lord. Yeah, I'm a little unsure at times, but we just take it one step at a time.
Yeah. And I think that's the other thing too, is it's so easy to see one thing happen and to automatically just plan out, well, this is how it's going to play out. And you know what? That kind of stuff's happened before where, man, it looked like things were lining up prophetically and you're like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
And then it falls apart and you go, okay.
And the reason why nobody takes it serious when you start to talk about and have the conversation again is because people have been so dogmatic and been like, this is absolutely what this is right here. It's happening right now before our eyes. Sometimes you just need to take a step back and, like you said, just be like, well, this could be a possible situation. This could be a possible situation. And that's kind of what I picked out scripture-wise to go over, was just some different possibilities, not to be dogmatic about anything that's going on, but for comfort, for reassurance, and so that people can look at that and they can go study for themselves and read up on those things and be more useful for the kingdom, instead of just, and not only that, but being sure in your own faith, in your own heart, what's going on, and not worrying. Sherman said it Sunday at the end of the service. He's like, there's a lot going on, but we're fine. We're here doing the same thing that we were doing. Yeah, it makes us maybe a little bit antsy. Yeah, it makes us maybe a little uncomfortable, but we're still here doing the same thing.
Yeah. Yep. I think that's the message people need to hear.
So one of the things that I wanted to bring up, unless you have more to...
No, you go right ahead, man. Lay it out for us.
So
tell us your pregame prediction. Tell us how the end of the world happens, Sam.
Well, first off,
insist on our obedience to it. Go ahead.
Let me just preface this by saying the apocalypse is an unveiling.
Apocalypti.
And I hate you so much right now. The apocalypse is an unveiling, and we understand more as the curtain comes up, okay? So this is why you see, and everybody forgets this is why you see, everybody says, "Oh, we've got to figure out who the Antichrist is right now." But the thing is if you remember at the Last Supper, Jesus says, "One of you is going to betray me," and everybody's like, "Oh,
is it I?
Is it me, Jesus? Do I plan on?" Have you ever seen the episode of The Office where Michael starts the rumor that Andy is gay, and then he just goes around questioning whether he's gay the entire episode?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
That's what was happening, except with betrayal of Jesus. Is that you have Peter over in the corner just being like,
"What a great analogy!"
Am I? Peter's just over in the corner like, "Am I going to betray Jesus?" Just everybody's like, "Is it me?" But it's Jesus that in turn reveals who it is. He says, "No, whoever I sup with, that's who's going to do it." And then you see the whole interaction with Judas.
I feel bad for the disciples that were like, the ones that we don't hear a ton about.
Yeah.
It's like Philip's just kind of like hanging out in the back, and it's like, oh gosh, I wasn't the one on the Mount of Transfiguration.
It's like, I do have a little bit of a secondary role at times, I feel like.
Like, I think Peter, James, and John are good. Well, Judas, he's good. He keeps the money.
Yeah, he's good. You remember that one time where he said we should give it to the poor? Yeah, he probably did that because he cared about it, people. Yeah. So he's probably fine.
So I just think Philip was really the one that was like hanging out.
He was
Is
insecure.
it I? Because I think it might be.
Yeah.
Do you want me to do it now, or am I waiting?
Yeah, and we know Thomas was just full-fledged like, well, I know it's me. I know it's got to be me.
It's got to be me.
Yeah.
I doubt that it could be anyone else.
I doubt it could be anybody else. I won't believe it's somebody else until I see Jesus get arrested. So the important thing is that the Bible also refers to Judas as the son of perdition. All right. The only other person that you see referred to as with the definite, the son of perdition, is the Antichrist. So in the same way that Judas was revealed to be the one that was betraying Jesus, in the same way, God's going to let us know when that time is. Mm-hmm. There's not going to be any secret about it. We are going to know if you believe in Jesus, if you read the scriptures, you're going to know. So first off, there's no reason to start speculating and start using gematria to change Bill Gates' name into, somehow meaning 666. Just relax. When the time comes, you're going to know.
But I have hidden Bible codes.
Yes.
Watch.
Yes.
If you turn it upside down and you read it from left to right.
And then you got to take the numbers that weren't there originally,
yes.
that weren't put there until several hundred years later, and you mix those in with
yes.
it. Yes.
Reverse them.
Yes.
And
yes.
And then you will know who the Antichrist is.
So that's the kind of things that we want to avoid, because when we do those things, we take away any credibility to anything that we have to say with those things. So now I'm going to go to Psalm 83. And Psalm 83 is an interesting one, because what we see is you see kind of the same language that you see in a lot of the Muslim world, especially the extremist world, where you take the the 3 no's that the Arab world had said against Israel. They said no peace. I don't remember all of them off the top of my head. I should have written it down. No peace. I can't remember. No peace, no agreements, and there was one other. I don't remember. But you see this situation play out where the only real inconvenience to the Muslim world is that they want Israel gone. Any other time, they're happy to just fight with each other, as you saw with Iran and Iraq in the early 90s, or you see some of the other Arab countries that have fought with each other in the past, Muslim countries. The only time that they all get along is when they have the common enemy of the Jew. And that continues to, I think, show itself and rear its ugly head. So what you see here is in Psalm 83, it says, I'm going to start at verse 3. It says, they have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. The tabernacle of Edom, the Ishmaelites, Moab, and the Hagarenes, Gebal, which I'm probably butchering that. Oh, I forgot about that segment. We were supposed to do a segment where we pronounce difficult names from the Old Testament, and I forgot about that. All right. Gebal, Ammon, Amalek, the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre. Asher also is joined with them. They have Helpin with the children of Lot. And what we see here is, when we look at these old names, sometimes it's difficult to put these in a map. Now, some Bibles are a little bit better coming up with maps than others. Like this Bible in particular I have at the moment doesn't have any maps, but I do have some other ones that do. But any of these can be Googled online, and you can find some biblical maps, trustworthy maps, pretty quickly. But Edom, the Edomites, they had settled just south of Israel, kind of in the Jordan, part of Jordan, because a lot of these countries today are in what's now present-day Jordan. So you have Edom, which is kind of some pieces of Jordan, as well as, I think, going down south far enough to probably be modern-day Saudi Arabia, but I could be wrong. I'd have to look at the map again. But certainly the Ishmaelites from Saudi Arabia, actually, I think that's one of the tenets of Islam is that Muhammad, who was from Arabia, had said he descended from Ishmael. So that's one of the tenets of Islam, is that they recognize the fact that the Arab peoples are in large Ishmaelites. And there's also been a lot of Edom, Esau actually married an Ishmaelite, I believe. Am I making that up? I feel like Esau, one of the women that Esau married was an Ishmaelite. So there's also some intermingling with that. Now Moab is in the area of Jordan, and then you have Ammon, also in that area of what's today's Jordan, Assyria, or not so much Assyria, but rather Syria, and then as well as Philistines is actually where the Gaza Strip is. That strip is inside of what was originally Philistine territory as they battled against Israel when they took the land. Kind of all the way up to Ashkelon and Ashdod and in those cities there up towards Tel Aviv. The inhabitants of Tyre. Tyre is, of course...
On a
Don't
vehicle.
say it. I knew you were
There's
going
four
there.
of them typically.
Yeah, there's 4 of them on your vehicle. Tyre is a city, and I think the city still exists, actually.
18-wheelers have 18.
Thank you for that.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
for clarifying. The viewers were really concerned about that.
There's usually a spare, too.
Yeah, good
in
point.
most vehicles.
Good point about spares.
That's what I know about Tyre.
So Tyre is also a city in modern-day Lebanon as well. So...
Good year.
Which borders Israel to the north, and that's where Hezbollah often makes their attacks from, is inside of Lebanon, and they'll shoot rockets down through there. So you do see all of these sort of countries lining up to Israel. You start to see them facing some enemies. And then it kind of just basically turns out, let's see, I don't know what other verse I was going to read to really go into that more, but totally what this is this kind of a cry out to God to not keep silent, to not keep his peace, but to kind of sustain Israel is kind of the overall. That's how it opens up.
I mean, there's the whole, for they have consulted together with one consent. They form a confederacy against you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
yeah, that's a good point to bring up to reiterate.
Yeah.
That they are in one goal, and that is to kick Israel out of the land. And, regardless of what your opinion may be on there being a Palestinian nation, which has never existed in the history ever. There's never been a Palestinian state for Arab peoples, ever. So, despite what that may be, I don't even remember the point I was going to make with that. Where was I going with that? Let's see, the consent. Okay, the chant of the Palestinian movement is from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. That's all the land. From the Jordan River to the sea, that's basically it. That's it. And so when they say a two-state solution is the only answer. It's not going to happen because you've had those options on the table before, and they've turned them down. This is history. They have turned those options down before. Yasser Arafat has turned those down because they would rather there not be an Israel at all.
Yeah,
totally. They kind of the same thing happening here where there's one consent. We're going to drive Israel from being a nation. Any more thoughts on that one?
I was going to say, apart from, I'm just sitting here thinking, like, from a military standpoint, so completely apart from any kind of biblical prophecy and like whose land is it and so on and so forth, the amount of trained military personnel that Israel has is unreal. Well, I mean, and of course they have mandatory service, right?
Right.
But literally that they can just call up.
Was it 300,000?
Yeah, I mean
reservists.
Yeah, I mean it's just like that. You know, I mean they are truly for the size of that country, they are a military giant. You know, in that sense, I don't know if I'm any country around there logically, like they're just one that I'm not going to really mess with, and the history of the relationship that they have with the United States, like it's just not one that I'm going to touch. And yet over and over and over, this is just the pattern is like
there really is a demonic obsession from the Muslim world over this.
And I think that's the obsession of it.
Yeah,
is crazy because I mean it's tiny. Like it's just you would think again logically that you could just look at this little bit of land and you go, whatever,
right?
Leave it alone. But there is just this obsession, like nope, we have to get rid of them.
Yeah, beyond all reasonable aspects.
Yeah,
it's just and then there's lots of claims that Israel has never existed, that they weren't in Jerusalem, that they were somewhere else. Those are laughable items. Archaeology confirms it. The Bible, while some people may have a hard time believing aspects of the Bible supernaturally, the fact that some of the things in here exist does give it historicity. There's other books that do give historicity as well that are ancient. The book of Josephus being one of them has a lot of historicity to it. So the claim is totally absurd. Now, again, I will totally admit my bias because I am an evangelical Christian and I fully support Israel being in their land.
We didn't expect that from you.
Yeah, I'm sure that with the coffee mug with the Star of David on it was probably a shock to people that I said that. Now, one thing that I will say in kind of criticism of some of the evangelical support of Israel is that sometimes they tend to make it so much about Israel being back in their land and the Jews back in their land that they forget the prophecies about what actually happens when they're back in their land. So, for instance, to go back to the Bible here, where Zechariah, he talks, chapter 13, verse 8, "It shall come to pass that in all the land, saith the Lord, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein. And I will bring the third part through the fire, and I will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, I will hear them, and I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, the Lord is my God." And if you look at chapter 13, the way that chapter 13 opens up, and this isn't like a true Bible study, so I'm not going to go crazy into the details on that. The way that chapter 13 opens up is that it's a fountain being opened up to the house of David and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem for sin and uncleanness. So you see Jerusalem and the house of David and Israel as a whole starting to be cleansed. Mm-hmm. The way that they're cleansed, according to the scripture, is that 2/3 of them gone. Which is a wild thing to think about. But when we think about modern history, 2/3 of European Jews were killed during the Holocaust. So as atrocious as that was, imagine that, but now it's taking place in the homeland, and you're not talking about, you're talking about a significant amount of Jewish people. Especially one thing that I don't like about certain Christian ministries is that they will help Jews make the Aliyah, which in particular is not friendly to Messianic Jews. Messianic Jews have trouble making Aliyah, where they return back to the land, because part of being Jewish to this day is that you deny that Jesus is the Messiah. Now, inside of Israel, it is making some gains. It's supposed to be the fastest growing section of Judaism in Israel. But with that being said, it is difficult for those people to make the return back. And we read the Beth Moore quote, I think it's been a couple months ago now, where she said that we shouldn't be focused on evangelizing Jewish people to Jesus. When we just focus on getting them back in the land, you're not helping them out the way that you should be helping them out. You should be focusing on the call, which is to present the gospel and to present that Jesus is the Messiah. He's the one that you're waiting for. And we're not doing anybody any favors, I don't think, when we put that focus there.
Yeah, no, agreed, 100%. But that's why we support missionaries in Israel.
Yeah, that's the whole point of why that church supports that. And then I like even being familiar with when we were at Nutter Fort as kids. That was where I first ran into Simca. Of course, I was 12 at the time, but that was where you start to realize the importance of that. Because you hear a lot. John Hagee being one of them. Let's make fun of him again while we're here.
While we're at it.
Israel, 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 Israel. Yes, absolutely. It's their land. They are God's chosen people. But the focus is getting them saved in the age of grace. That's the focus. That's what should be the focus. That should be our prayer number one.
Yep.
Prayer number two, pray for their safety, pray for their health, all those sorts of things. Yeah, absolutely.
Their Messiah has come.
Yeah.
And we are recipients of a Jewish Messiah for the whole world, but yeah, absolutely.
So the other place that I wanted to go with that in Zechariah, first off, is a fascinating book. And I will say, you good on time? Good on, okay, all right. I will say that with that being said, the book, Zechariah, commentary by David Barone. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. If nobody has read it before, it's fantastic. Fantastic book on Zechariah commentary. And the thing I like about it, and I don't like Bibles with commentaries in them a lot of times because they're very non-concise, very ambiguous. There's not any real good studying in them a lot of times. This is I think total, with some appendixes added, it's like 400 pages to go through it. So he takes his time, he goes through a lot of material, and that's what I like about it. So what we see, behold, and this is in Zechariah chapter 12, verse 2, behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto all people round about when they shall be in the siege both against Judah and against Jerusalem. And in that day will I make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people. All that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces, though all the people of the earth be gathered together against it. And this is where I would just say, I don't want anything to do with causing the Jewish people to come away from their land. And that is even to the point of pushing a two-state solution where they kind of go back to 1967 borders and they kind of either cut it in half or take a portion of Jerusalem away from Israel. I don't want anything to do with any of that, just because of the scripture right there where it says Jerusalem is a burdensome stone and anybody that tries to lift it is going to get hurt. If you have any thoughts on that one.
No, that's fair. And I think here's the thing too, is like, because you start getting not only into biblical concepts.
Did we lose video? We might have lost video.
Maybe I have, yeah. But also then you start crossing over into the political side too, like interventionism, non-interventionism,
right.
Things like that.
Right.
Like, what role do other world governments play in this? I'm not sure advocating for something is really going to make that much of a difference.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I just, again, I think that at some level you sit back, you watch this, you see it in light of Scripture, and you go, well, let's see how this plays out.
Right. Right.
I'm not going to thwart the plans of God, but
yeah.
This is interesting. But it's difficult because, like I said, then you do really, whether you like it or not, when you're talking nations, then you start getting political, and necessarily so.
Yeah, and there is a little bit of a crossover. Like I said, I was going to try to stay more biblical, but sometimes there is an unnecessary crossover.
Or a necessary crossover.
A necessary crossover, yeah thank you. Where they converge and you have to bring it up. There's no way around it. So let's see. How much longer do you want to go? You want maybe 15 minutes? Can we try to push 15 more? Go over the rest? Are you good?
I can go about 10.
10? Okay. Yeah. All right.
Speed. Go.
So speed. Let's go.
Speed round.
All right. So a lot of people have been talking about Gog and Magog because we see Russia at war. We see Persia, which is Iran, kind of on the move. So let's go to Ezekiel 38 real quick. And we can talk about this very briefly. Let's see. So, just staring me in the face and I turned past it. All right. So, I think that first off, it's important to preface how people come to the conclusion that it is Russia or that it is somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe your Afghanistan's, I think Kyrgyzstan is in that area, Uzbekistan, up above Iran, and down below on the southern border of Russia. So it says, "And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth in all thine armies and horsemen, and all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords." And then we see Persia, Ethiopia, Libya. All those countries are being pretty much predominantly run by Islamists now. It says, "With them, all of them with shield and helmet, Gomer and all his bands, and the house of Togarma of the north quarters and all his bands, and many people with thee." So kind of just to briefly talk about, first off, the reason of why you come to the conclusion that possibly Russia could have something to do with that. If you read Josephus here, I'm going to pick up Josephus. And it says in chapter...
That's not the Bible.
Chapter 6, this is in Antiquities of the Jews. Chapter 6, let's see, we're at section 1 here. And if you go down, you can see Gomer founded those whom the Greeks now call Galatians or Gauls, but they were then called Gomerites. And we know from the book of from Galatians and kind of the active ministry that Paul had, that a lot of that takes place in Asia Minor. So we see that play out of fact in Turkey. And so that's how we can kind of come up with, okay, well, maybe this has something to do with Turkey then as well.
Early ancestors of Gomer Pyle.
Of Gomer Pyle, yes. Magog founded those who were named Magogites, but are called, by the Greeks, they're called Scythians. Well, where that is really interesting at is that if you Google Scythians, and you go to, let's say, Britannica Encyclopedia, it says this is a group of nomadic people, and that they went from the area around Iran, and they migrated north, and they settled into the Crimea, the Ukraine, as well as Russia. So you start to see, okay, so kind of up through all the, as I just say, the stands, kind of up through all the stands, and into into modern day Russia. So that it becomes really interesting to kind of see those things come to light in biblical prophecy. Now, that being said, this is very important to preface with. There is only one war of Gog and Magog that we can be dogmatic about. And I think, like we were saying earlier, there's a lot of people that will get too antsy. They'll start jumping on, be like, oh, this is it. This is going to happen, and this is going to happen next. Now, I am of the opinion that there can be more than one Gog and Magog battle, and that there could possibly be one before the millennium. Do you have any thoughts on that one real quick?
No?
No?
I don't.
Okay. All right. So, all right. Well, anyway.
I'm interested to hear what you're going to say.
Well, the reason being, if you turn back to Ezekiel 36 and you see the Valley of Dry Bones prophecy,
okay,
and then Ezekiel 40 starts the Millennium Temple. You see the temple being built.
Okay.
In between there, Gog and Magog. So when we look at that in light together, one can come to the conclusion that it's very possible that you could see this play out in today's time. Now, another thing that's really interesting in that is there was I think it was 2015, there was an article by the Jerusalem Post, and it said strange bedfellows. And there was a picture of Erdogan, Vladimir Putin, and I don't remember if it was the Iranian president or if it was the Ayatollah. I don't remember. But either way, it said Russia, Iran, and Turkey, strange bedfellows. And it just kind of talked about the alliance between them, which then it starts to be like, okay, for sure, I could see a possibility that this could play out. So, you look at some things, and that, again, not being dogmatic, because I don't know. I could see that being one of the possibilities. I don't know. Any more takes on that now?
Yeah, no. I mean, I think, again, this kind of is where we go back that at some level we sit back and we watch. We're not ignorant to it, but I hesitate to go, this is who it is, you know?
Right.
Because I've watched that scenario play out, even in our own lifetime. We've watched that scenario play out, and it's just wrong.
Yeah,
it's just flat wrong.
It just turns out to be wrong, and it turns out to be embarrassing, and then you take away so much credibility.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's something to be aware of.
I think
to keep an eye on it.
Our language is important whenever we go, this could.
Yeah.
But, again, if it
be aware
of it. It's not. And that doesn't shake my faith. That doesn't, send me into a tailspin. If I've convinced myself that this is it and this is how it plays out, and then I'm wrong, I think that can easily send me into some sort of a crisis of faith or whatever, because I've put all of my trust in my understanding and my interpretation. And at some level, you have to understand that prophecy is oftentimes shrouded in poetic language, and so I mean it's just that genre. You see a lot of this poetic imagery that's happening, and I think that's important to keep in mind as well whenever you're reading prophecy and you're looking in. Diving deeply into it is to say sometimes prophecy serves as this, I guess, this thing that we don't understand until we've moved past it, and we look back and go, oh, I see it now. I see where that was. But it's hard to see when you're in the middle of it.
Right.
There are enough shadows with it that you go, something's happening. Something's taking place here. And I can theorize about it, and I can say, well, it could be this, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But if it doesn't work out the way that my theories have played out, well, that doesn't shake my faith.
Yeah, I think the important thing is to take it one step at a time when going through biblical prophecy. Mm-hmm. And don't make any large-scale predictions. Take it one step at a time. I'll close with this. Where it says Gomer, which we already, when we talked about Josephus, we established that somewhere in the region of it's now Turkey. But then it says Togarmah of the north quarters. There's a lot of Bible commentaries you can get, and they will point to Armenia as Togarmah. Where that is really interesting at is that Azerbaijan, Blinken, actually I'll just read it right here, but Blinken, let me see.
And this has definitely not gotten a ton of coverage. Like, I've seen it in the media, don't get me wrong.
It really hasn't. Let's see, screenshots.
A ton of coverage.
Yeah, so it was in the Politico. It says, Blinken warned lawmakers, this is 2 days ago, Blinken warned lawmakers, Azerbaijan may invade Armenia in the coming weeks. Now, you say, but why would they do such a thing? There's a really interesting point in that article where it says, Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev has previously called on Armenia to open a corridor along its southern border linking mainland Azerbaijan to an exclave that borders Turkey and Iran. Aliyev has threatened to solve the issue by force. So, again, there's a really interesting alignment that we can see popping up with that. You have any? And then let me just say real quick, read through Daniel and kind of look at the Prince of Persia and what happens with the Prince of Persia, and then the Prince of Grecia comes next, and then we see a conflict north of south between the king of the north and the king of the south. And historically, with the Seleucids, Greeks, and the Ptolemy Egypt, you saw Israel was kind of caught in the middle between a big war. So I also want to point that out as a possibility that people could go look into as well.
And I will say that Armenian Christians and Armenian Christians are quite different.
Yeah. Arminianism is different from Armenians. Yes.
I've just seen that a lot. I don't know.
I bet that is actually. I bet there's a lot of people that would confuse those together.
Oh, I see that all the time when people are trying to write down Armenian, they write down Armenian.
Yeah,
it's like,
I could see that happening a lot.
Yeah, well, it is what it is.
All right, anything?
Hey, you know what? I think that at the end of the day, what do we do with all of this? What do we do with our predictions? What do we do with the prophetic literature? We love God. We love people. We watch. We wait. We worship while we watch. We serve Jesus while we watch. Pray for Israel.
Yeah, pray for Israel.
Pray for you know what? Pray for the people of Israel. Pray for the people living in Gaza.
Yeah. Pray. Yeah. Again, we live in the age of grace. The number one step that we as Christians would like to see is salvation to those people. Absolutely. It's not anybody's death. It's not anything like. We want to see salvation first, because if salvation is achieved, and then the mind can be opened up, and we can start to look at the Bible, and then things can be accomplished with that.
Yeah. So
all right,
all right,
let's cut it off.